Lisa! That voice was full of joy, warm and excitement. Lisa turned. Her face was a bit blank. Then she saw her, Maria, her mother, standing there, holding a food container, smiling like she had been waiting all day just to see her. "Hey, I made your favorite," Maria said, stretching the food towards her. Lisa's hand tightened around her back. Her friends were watching. Ava leaned closer. "Who is that?" Lisa's throat felt dry. She looked at her mother, Maria, the woman who had given birth to her. Then she looked at her friends. And then she made a choice. That's just our maid," Lisa said, forcing a laugh. Maria's smile didn't drop right away, but her eyes changed. Just for a moment, she stood there. Then slowly, she placed the food on the table. A small nod, then no words. Then she turned and walked away. Lisa swallowed hard. Her friends started talking again. She forced a smile, but inside her heart, she knew it. The deed has already been done. Lisa, the 16-year-old beautiful girl, did not come from a wealthy family. She lived in a small, busy neighborhood where people had a hard time getting by. Her mother, Maria, worked as a tailor. She repaired torn clothes, sewed school outfits, and took cleaning jobs to earn extra money. Maria worked all day into the night. Some days, she sewed clothes under a weak light because she couldn't afford the power bill. Lisa's dad, Daniel, passed away when she was just 5 years old. He was a construction worker, but one day, he fell from a tall building. Maria cried for weeks. Lisa was too young to really understand what was going on at the time, but she did remember this. Her mom always kept working, even on days when she was sick. Maria found a way to put food on the table, but it was never sufficient. Lisa was a bright child. She enjoyed reading, working with numbers, and discovering new things. The neighborhood school was inexpensive, but Maria wanted better option for her daughter. She wanted Lisa to go to a good school, wear a clean uniform, and have teachers who cared about her. Good school required good money, a large amount of money. Maria could never afford it until someone special came into her life. Maria had a friend named Teresa when she was a little child. Teresa was a maid at Mr. and Mrs. Dawson, a rich couple who lived in a large house in the town. The Dawsons were nice, but they didn't have any child. One evening, Teresa was sitting outside her small house with Maria. She saw Lisa reading a book under the street light. "She's clever," Teresa said. Maria let out a sigh. "I know, I really want to send her to a better school." Teresa was silent for a moment. Then she said something that would change everything. "What if the Dawsons assist?" Maria frowned. Help? How? They often say they wish they have a child, and maybe they can take Lisa in and send her to a nice school. Maria shook her head. Lisa was her daughter. How could she just let her go? But Teresa smiled softly. "You are not giving her away. She's just going to stay with them. That way, they can train her in the big school. Let them look after her for you, as if she was their own. She will always be your daughter. Nobody can change that." Maria considered it. It seemed both wrong and right. If she didn't accept it, Lisa would face struggles while growing up like she did. If she said yes, Lisa could have a better life. After many nights of thought, Maria made a tough choice. She had to let Lisa live with Mr. and Mrs. Dawson. To her, she was giving Lisa a new name. Teresa had informed Mr. and Mrs. Dawson about Lisa's coming, and Mr. and Mrs. Dawson were very delighted to have her in their home. They have always wished and prayed for a child of their own, but none came. So they wanted to embrace Lisa as one of their own. Lisa moved into the Dawsons' home. Her life changed suddenly. For the first time, she had her own room, a warm bed, and a food that wasn't made 7 days ago. She wore new clothes instead of the used one that Maria used to repair. She attended Haven Crest Academy, which is one of the top schools in the city. At first, she missed her mom. She missed the scent of fabric in their little home, the noise of the sewing machine, and the easy meals they used to eat together. But over time, Lisa observed how her friends lived. Their parents had large cars, wore costly jewelry, and went on trips vacations. Lisa wanted to fit in and not feel out of place. She began to keep the truth hidden. She never mentioned her mother, Maria, to anyone. She allowed others to think that the Dawsons were her actual parents. Whenever Maria came over, Lisa hides away and never wants to see her mother. She called her less frequently. Over time, Maria felt like a stranger in her own life. Lisa had everything she ever wanted. A good school, a nice home, and rich friends. At Haven Crest Academy, everything was wonderful. Lisa wanted to blend in. She didn't want to appear as if she was from another world. She figured out how to fit in. She copied how her friends talked. She found their jokes funny. She stopped discussing her past. When other students asked about her family, she smiled and said, "I live with Mr. and Mrs. Dawson." She didn't say anything about her mother. At first, Lisa responded to her mother's phone call. She would talk to her mom about school, her classes, and the new books she read. Maria would always say, "I miss you, my love. When will you be home?" Lisa would say, "Soon, Mama, soon." But as the months passed, Lisa stopped calling as often. She was always occupied with school. Mom, I'm busy with homework." The Dawsons saw the difference. They saw how cold she has been towards her mother. And one day she asked her, "When last did you see your mother?" Lisa shrugged her shoulders. I speak with her on the phone." Mrs. Dawson nodded, but Lisa noticed that she was unhappy. Lisa didn't want to say why she stayed away from home. She had visited several times, but now each visit felt unique. This particular visit, her home didn't feel like home anymore. She believed everything was different now. When she got there, she felt out of place. The small house that used to feel cozy now felt cramped up to her. Everything felt different. The old sewing machine, the wooden table, and the small bed she used to sleep in. She sat in a plastic chair, looking around and feeling very uncomfortable. Maria cooked her favorite food, jollof rice and plantain. Lisa had a few bites. It tasted just as good as it did before. But she felt something inside her was different. She missed the rich food at the Dawsons' house. She missed the peace and fresh air. Maria smiled at her. "Please eat, my love." Lisa smiled, even though it felt forced. After that visit, Lisa had a hard time going home again. She made excuses like, "Oh, Mom, school is too hectic." Her mother would sigh, but she always said, "It's fine, I got it." Lisa didn't understand that her mother's heart was gradually getting sad. At school, Lisa met new friends, Eva and Julie, and Nina were the closest to her. They were wealthy girls who were sure of themselves and full of money. They chatted about their trips, fancy clothes, and their parents' successful companies. Lisa laughed too, acting as if she was just like them. She never mentioned where her real house was. One day, Nina asked, "Lisa, where do your parents work?" Lisa paused. She couldn't say. Her mother was a tailor. She smiled and said, "Mr. and Mrs. Dawson have a large company." It was true, but that wasn't the complete truth. From that day on, Lisa changed completely. A girl who has an amazing life, a girl who has no problem, started acting differently just to fit in. The moment everything changed, Maria still attempted to see Lisa at the Dawsons' house. She would bring homemade snacks, new clothes she made, and small presents. Every time, Lisa felt ashamed. This particular evening, Maria got there just when Lisa's friends were visiting. Lisa's heart raced with fear. Maria waved happily while standing at the gate. Lisa, Ava, turned and lifted an eyebrow. "Who is that? Is that not the maid from school the other day? Lisa felt something stuck in her throat. She didn't want them to find out. She didn't want them to notice the woman in old dress carrying a food container. She accepted immediately. Of course, that's our maid. This woman won't let me be. Maria's smile disappeared. For a brief moment, she stayed still. She quietly put down the food container. She nodded, then she left. Lisa felt a part of heartbreak, but she didn't pay attention to it. She smiled at her friends. Come, let's go inside, she said. She acted like nothing happened. That night, while she was lying in her comfortable bed, her chest felt tight. She had all she ever wanted. Why did she feel so empty? That night, Lisa was in the bed, looking at the ceiling. She laughed with her friends. She acted as if nothing had happened. But inside her, something felt off. She couldn't stop thinking about her mother's face, how her smile had disappeared. She stood there quietly before putting down the food. She walked away without saying anything. Lisa turned on her side and closed her eyes, trying to push it away. It doesn't matter, she said to herself. She will get by it. She always does. But inside, she felt uncertain. The following morning, Lisa got up late. She got dressed quickly and went downstairs. Mrs. Dawson was already sitting at the table drinking her tea. Lisa, your mom visited last night, she said. Lisa felt a knot in her stomach. She wanted to meet you, but you were with your friends. Lisa smiled, even though it felt forced. Oh, I was busy, ma. Mrs. Dawson looked at her for a moment. She nodded and didn't say anything else. But Lisa sensed something unusual in her tone. The normal warmth was missing. At school, Lisa's friends were waiting for her at the school entrance. Eva smiled slyly. Your maid is very kind though. Lisa felt a tightness in her stomach. What? She brought you food again. You should have seen her standing there like she was your mother. Lisa pretended to laugh. She is too serious about this her job. How much do you guys pay her for her to be treating you this way? Eva shrugged. At least she does her job properly, not like my useless maid who waits for me to always remind her to do anything for me. Lisa laughed as well, but it seemed insincere. She could still hear her mom's words. Lisa. She could still remember how she had put the food down, slowly and carefully, as if she was afraid it would break. But Lisa had already broken something. Maria's call had stopped. Her mother always called her at night. Every night, her phone would ring and she would hear her mother speaking softly. Lisa, how was your day at school? Lisa, did you have something to eat? Lisa, I care about you. But after that night, the calls ended. Lisa saw it. On the first night, she thought, maybe she is busy. On the second night, she looked at her phone waiting for her call, but there was no call. By the third night, Lisa felt a chill inside her. She wanted to make a call, but she decided not to. She kept telling herself that Mama would call soon, but she made a mistake. Days turned into weeks, and her mother didn't call her. She didn't come to visit her either. She stopped sending her food. It was like she vanished. Lisa reminded herself that this was the best option. No more awkward moments. Stop explaining things to her friends. But then one evening, she overheard Mrs. Dawson talking to Mr. Dawson. She no longer comes here, Mrs. Dawson said quietly. Maria hasn't been here for weeks. Lisa, who was in the next room, stopped moving. Mr. Dawson let out a sigh. Maybe she is allowing Lisa some time alone. Mrs. Dawson spoke softly. Or maybe she is injured. Lisa's heart raced. She had never considered it like that. She always thought her mother was strong. As someone who knows it all, someone who will always let off the hook. What if this time is not the same? The guilt became too much for Lisa to bear. One afternoon, Lisa took the bus to her old neighborhood after school. She hadn't been there in a very long time. When she got to the small house, she paused. It seemed smaller than she recalled. The wooden door was shut. The window was a little open. She breathed in deeply and knocked. She knocked once more. No answer yet. Lisa took a step back. Her heart was racing. Her mother was usually home at this time. Where is she? She started to walk away, but then she heard footsteps. The door opened gently. It wasn't her mother. It was Teresa. who was her mother's best friend. Teresa was surprised to see her. Lisa. Lisa gulped. Where is my mom? Teresa's face changed. She wiped her hands on her apron and let out a sigh. She changed location. Lisa gasped. What? She left last week. She gathered her belongings and moved to the countryside. Lisa noticed the ground moving under her. Mom wouldn't leave her. Not like that. Shaking her head. No, she can't go. She can't leave me. Well, Lisa, your mother waited. She waited for you to arrive. She called you, but you didn't answer. She came, but you were always occupied. Lisa felt tightness in her chest. She never told me she was going away. Teresa smiled sadly. Maybe she knew you wouldn't care enough to go anywhere with her. After all, you are embarrassed of her. Lisa's leg felt tired. She was certain her mother would always be around. She was confident she had enough time to fix things. But now, her mother was no longer here. Lisa wished it wasn't real. She is going to return, right? She asked Teresa. But the way Teresa looked at her revealed the truth. Lisa was so busy trying to fit in and hide her past that she never expected her mother would leave her first. She swallowed hard. Do you know where she went? Teresa nodded. She's with an old friend in the country. She wanted a new beginning since you were ashamed of her. Lisa felt a heaviness in her chest. Her mother had left her, not because of destiny, not because of any other thing, but because of her own stupid decisions. She pushed her mother away, and now she was no longer there. Lisa quickly wiped her eyes and tried to stay cool. Teresa let out a sigh. Lisa, she still loves you, but love can't always wait forever. Lisa goes back to the Dawsons family home, but for the first time, it felt very unfamiliar. Mrs. Dawson was in the living room reading. She smiled as she looked up. Dear Lisa, how was school? Lisa paused. She had spent a long time pretending she fit in this world. Now, she was uncertain. She felt a little smile. It was okay, but nothing felt right. Over time, Lisa began to notice little things. Mrs. Dawson was not as friendly as she used to be. Mr. Dawson asked Lex about her schoolwork. One night at dinner, Mr. Dawson stopped eating and said, Lisa, we need to chat. Lisa felt a tightness in her stomach. Your mom visited us before she left, he said. Lisa stood still. She shared everything with us. She worked so hard to provide you with a life. But all you could do was call her your maid? Really? But all she wanted was just your love. Lisa had a dry throat. She told us she wouldn't take any more help from us. She wanted you to choose what to do next. Lisa blinked her eyes. What does that mean? Mrs. Dawson looked at her with sadness. It means, Lisa, we won't pay for your school anymore. Lisa's life came to a halt. She felt like the ground was gone under her. But nothing. Lisa, it's time for you to make a decision. What do you want to become? Lisa felt something stuck in her throat. She ran away from her mother. She kept her past a secret. Now, she has lost everything. That night, Lisa had trouble sleeping. She stayed awake looking at the ceiling, her thoughts running wild. She thought about her mother, sitting alone at home, waiting for a daughter who always denied her. She thought about her old school, a place where she had been happy before she worried about social status. She thought about her own words, the lie that had begun everything. Oh, that's just our housekeeper. Lisa closed her eyes tightly. She wanted to return to the past life. The following morning, Lisa made a choice. She packed her belongings, took the bus and went to the countryside. She just wanted to locate her mother. When she got to the countryside, the small village was calm and serene. She asked people around and eventually someone showed her a small house near a farm. Her heart raced as she approached the door. She lifted her hands to knock, but before she could do that, the door opened. Her mother stood there with a basket of clean clothes. They both stayed quiet for a while. Maria looked closely at Lisa's face. Lisa tried to speak, but no words came out. Her mother smiled a little. Without saying anything, she moved to the other side. Lisa walked in. She didn't have to say anything. Not yet. Sometimes love is shown more through quiet words. As she entered the small house, it had a comforting smell that felt like home, warm and cozy. Her mother set the box of clothes on the wooden table and turned to look at her daughter. They were both silent for a moment. Lisa wanted to say everything at the same time. Mom, I know I made a mistake. I caused you so much pain. I felt embarrassed. I miss you. But words alone couldn't express everything. Instead, she did something she hadn't done in a very long time. She moved forward and hugged her mother. Maria stayed still at first. Then she gently hugged her back. Lisa closed her eyes and held on to her tightly. She felt safe, the only place she had ever felt safe. And at that moment, she realized that no one will ever love her like Maria. She held on to her, crying. Maria didn't ask much questions. She only hugged her back and welcomed her back in the home. Lisa remained in the house. Maria didn't ask her why. She didn't ask what went on. Lisa assisted with household tasks. She cleaned the floor, did the laundry, and folded clothes for her mother's sewing. At night, she sat outside listening to the bugs and the wind in the trees. It was calm, but Lisa felt unease. She had moved on from this world and now she felt lost about where she fit in. One afternoon, while she was sewing next to her mother, she finally said something. "Mom," she said quietly. Maria kept sewing. "Yes?" "Are you mad at me?" Maria sighed but kept working. "Not that, Lisa." Lisa looked at her hands. "Why do you seem so distant?" Maria put down her needle and turned to look at Lisa for the first time in a long time. "You went away, Lisa, and I let you go," she said softly. "Now you are back. You need to understand this. Trust takes time to rebuild." Lisa felt tightness in her chest. "How can I get it back, Mama?" Maria smiled with a touch of sadness. "By being present, by being genuine." Lisa nodded. She got it. There was no easy solution. She just needed to show that she was capable. Lisa went outside in search of a job. She needed to help her mother. She went from one store to another, asking if they needed any help. Most people said no. Some people stared at her. Oddly, because she was a city girl suddenly in this place, searching for a job. But Lisa kept going. In the end, an elderly woman sold bread in the market decided to help her. The woman said, "You can help me pack and sell in the morning. Make sure to arrive early." Lisa said yes. The next morning, she got up before sunrise and went to the market. At first, her hands were unsteady, but she gradually figured it out. She piled up bread, counted money, carried bags, and walked until her arms hurt. She didn't make much money, but she felt something she hadn't felt in a while. Responsible. Maria noticed the difference. Maria never asked her about her morning routine, but she paid attention to the little details. Lisa's hands, which used to be soft, became raw from walking. She stopped sleeping in night. She looked calm now. One evening, Lisa put a small package on the table. "What is this?" Maria asked. Lisa paused. "My first paycheck, Mom." Maria opened it and found some folded notes inside. "Did you work?" Lisa nodded. "Yes, Mama." Maria looked at the money for a long time. She quietly folded it back and put it in front of her. Lisa frowned. "Mama?" Maria gave a smile. "You deserve this, Lisa. You chose what to do with it." Lisa felt a surge of emotion. She was more than just Maria's daughter now. She was independent. Months has gone by since Lisa had joined his mother in their new city. She no longer felt stuck between the two worlds. She no longer felt embarrassed about her background. One morning, her mother was sewing a new dress while Lisa sat next to her and watched. Her mother raised her head. "What is it?" "Mama, please teach me." Maria blinked her eyes. "Sewing?" "Yes, Mama." Maria gave her a needle and some fabrics. "Begin here." Lisa was careful with it. She observed, paid attention, and gained knowledge. While she walked, she talked quietly. "Mama, you know true wealth is not in money, but in love. The Dawsons had given me comfort, But you, Mama, you had given me sacrifice, care, and unconditional love. And for that, I will never take you for granted ever in my life again. In the end, Lisa learned that hiding who you are only leads to emptiness. She had spent so much time pretending that she lost herself in the process. A mother's love is patient, but it's not something to take for granted. Maria had always been there, until one day she wasn't. Respect is not just in words, but in action. Maria had not needed an apology. She needed to see Lisa grow into someone better. Shame is a heavy burden. The moment Lisa stopped being ashamed of where she came from, she felt free. Thank you so much for watching, and please don't forget to share the story with your family and your friends who might love to see them. Till I see you again in my next story. Goodbye.